what I do think was a big problem regarding Tulsi is very often the Democratic establishment, when they bury people, they bury them and make sure that they're dead. Well, apparently they buried Tulsi, but they didn't make sure she was dead. Tulsi had incredible appeal that I think they clearly saw, which is why she became the vice chair of the DNC very early on in her career. And as a result, we're going to probably ride her political acumen and ability for many years to come, especially if Hillary didn't win in 2016. Assuming, of course, that she got in line and did her job. She didn't get in line. She didn't do her job. She decided to do what was right. And it cost her her entire political career in the Democratic Party. Leave it to the Republicans to just say, oh, she's good. She could actually do really good in our party. And slowly but surely, the transition began, and Tulsi began her odyssey over to the GOP, even though she was an independent. She got her own show, went on a lot of podcasts. She's, again, you can hate the player, you don't have to hate the game. I've said many times, Cory Booker would be a great example of a politician who is as corporate and Zionist and everything that we dislike about politics. But what Cory Booker does have also is he has charm. He's a very nice man. And you talk to anybody in politics and they will say the same. He very rarely, if ever, has a negative thing to say about anybody. He's just that likable guy. His politics are terrible. But that is an example of what we have to deal with in the political arena. Recognizing the talent when it's there. Tulsi has a lot of it. And I do think that the fear from the Democratic establishment is that she is going to be a real force for years to come, and she is going to drive a lot of people who would otherwise be, possibly willing to give the Democrats a look, not with Tulsi, because there's a lot of women out there in particular who are looking for the first Madam President. Well, in my humble opinion, they are a lot closer today with somebody like Tulsi in the GOP than anybody in the Democratic Party, and that includes AOC, who we'll get to in a minute. But what we did see this past week, which was incredible as far as I'm concerned, but it really speaks to the depravity of the Democratic Party and where it is today, how it's an absolute shambles, and it's going to continue to sink. And the reason I say that is you can have certain spokespeople go on national TV and espouse your message as to why they should be supporting the party and why the other side isn't doing too good. Well, what the Democrats have basically done is they've doubled down on their bullshit rhetoric, and they've doubled down on this idea that Tulsi is a Russian asset, that she is dangerous, and she cannot be confirmed. Now, who better to make that statement than you know who?
Tulsi Gabbard is someone who has met with war criminals, violated the Department of State's guidance, and secretly, clandestinely went to Syria and met with Assad, who gassed and attacked his own people with chemical weapons. She's considered to be essentially, by most assessments, a Russian asset.
It's always very telling when a person blinks constantly when they talk, which means that they're lying through their teeth. Plus, most, if not all, of what she's saying is rehearsed. And I think it really speaks to the fact that the images that they're showing of Tulsi are one of a person who's smiling and grinning ear to ear, because in the end, she won. Tulsi won. And Wasserman Schultz is still meandering around like there's any relevance to her political career at this point. And how the Democratic Party thinks that it's okay for her to go out there and be a spokesperson is incredible. There isn't one person that wants to pull her aside and say, yeah, maybe you should sit this one out, or maybe you should just stay away from the TV cameras altogether. No, there isn't that one person that actually does the sensible thing, especially since the Democrats are bleeding right now, literally. Like it's like an open vein. Like that's where they're at this point. So let's make sure that we bury ourselves even deeper and have this person come out and speak on our behalf.
and would be the most
Is that how you consider her? Is that what you consider her?
Oh, yes. There's no question. I consider her someone who is likely a Russian asset, who would be.
Remember, choose those words carefully, because libel is very easy to prove if you don't nuance it as carefully as possible. Yes, she's likely a Russian asset. I can't prove that she's a Russian asset. See, Tony gets it. Tulsi's a Zionist. That's the thing that Debbie is never going to mention, because Debbie's a Zionist too. That's why. And as Kat points out, Russia, Russia, Russia. They haven't changed any talking points in almost a decade. They're still going with it. I guess they didn't get their asses kicked hard enough.
Be as the DNI responsible for managing our entire intelligence community, hold all of our most significant intelligence information and secrets, and essentially would be a direct line to our enemies. And so I
don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Why does anybody honestly care? That's what I don't understand. I know we've got commentary in the chat and everyone thinks at the end of the day, as Jen always likes to say, fly, Icarus, fly. Debbie's going to continue flying very close to the sun, and hopefully it'll be too close at some point. But all this does, all people like Debbie do, is make Tulsi seem that much more appealing. Ooh, you know what? If Debbie Wasserman Schultz hates Tulsi that much, maybe she is worth supporting. Maybe she is worth giving some consideration. That's what I take away from it. I don't know what you guys think, but I do think that that is a huge part of Tulsi's appeal. She became such a fuck you to the Democrats, and now that there is a very good chance that she's going to have a very prominent position. Again, the GOP has the Senate, so it's fairly likely she'll get confirmed, but we'll see what happens. Exactly as Mina Lita says. I mean, at some point, it just becomes pathetic. But the person that we should all be more concerned about, and there's a lot of people that have very strong opinions about, you know, why certain people shouldn't be in positions of authority. If there's any validity to it, I'll go with it. I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, but as I've said before, I think that there's a lot of fear with having somebody like Tulsi in power, because as I've mentioned before, and I'll say again, you cannot underestimate, if you know anything about political appeal, Tulsi's got a lot of it. She just does. I mean, she is loved by independents in the GOP. And I do think that the rallies that she did with RFK made a difference. I do believe that. But Debbie's not the only person who has a problem with Tulsi. AOC has a problem with Tulsi too. And if you didn't know any better, you would think that they were getting the same script.
And we haven't even gotten to Tulsi Gabbard potentially having access to national security information. And Russia loves it, loves her.
And I actually think almost more than Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard's appointment is devastating. And
what's devastating about it? Tulsi's more dangerous than Matt Gaetz. I don't get it. AOC is going to get her comeuppance at the end of this podcast for a good reason. Apparently she does, Aaron. We'll see.
Tulsi Gabbard's nomination, as much as she says that she's an anti-war person, she's not.
Yeah.
She supports very pro-war individuals,
including
abroad.
In Syria.
And let's be very clear, a Tulsi Gabbard nomination is a pro-war nomination globally, point blank, period.
As is Donald Trump as president of the United States.
Well, kudos to you for going on with Joy Reid. I tell you, the names sometimes really make you laugh when you think about it. Alex is definitely playing the political game, but this is a dangerous game that she's playing. She couldn't just come out and say, if you were being nuanced, Alex, and you were attempting to build some form of political acumen, which maybe she's trying to do, but isn't doing a very good job of it, then she could easily make a statement along the lines of, I appreciate Tulsi's service. I disagree with her position on Modi. I disagree with her position on Israel. And that would have landed because it's true. But instead, she just decides, no, I'm just going to go along with the DNC talking points. Well, if you're on MSNBC, I guess you have to, am I right?